Guys, welcome back to another episode of UnMotivated. Listen, Jemarcus and I were having a conversation in the car, and I think it was a rough one for him because he didn't know it was going to be a rough one in
You
general.
never do.
and it kind of woke him up and made him take a step back. And this right here, I think we're going to call this one daddy issues. It's like those father issues that we don't know are issues until you get grown and you say, damn, I've got an issue. Yeah. So I'm going to frame it, then he could chime in. Objectively, he says, you know what? Hey, I'm about to go and... I put on my list this year. I want to spend some time with my dad, who was never around objectively, and I really want to have a conversation with him. I need clarity, and I'm like, clarity on what? And then I said, so, if you walk into the situation and you're not emotionally sound, he's holding a loaded gun. And what you fail to realize, people, is kind of like, and I use chicks as for an instance, a chick come to you and say, well, how do you feel about me? Are we going to be together? She gave you a loaded gun. Now, she hoping she don't get shot, but she's going to get shot one way or the other. She's going to be shot with love or she's going to be shot with pain. And so one of them things is going to relieve her. One of them things is going to have her tripping. And you got a whole nother problem on your hands. And here's the facts. If you walk into a room and you are not emotionally sound and let's say you don't even know what to expect, but you don't have emotional control, you're fucked. So I brought up the stuff to go in and then you go ahead and tell them, hey, what was going on through your head, because you go, I'm feeling emotions that I didn't think were going to be a thing, as I'm painting this picture of do not go talk to your dad if you are not emotionally under control.
So explain what I was thinking about?
Yeah, like what you was thinking about, because, Jemarcus kind of wears his emotions, actually. He don't wear them well. So you could see his energy go from 0 to 100 to 0 if he gets into a heavy state of thought or something's gone different or he's actually thinking about something. He shifts. I can think about those things and act like nothing's wrong and keep the show going. And most times, most things don't get to me. So it's just a different state. But what were you thinking? What dropped?
I really started thinking about, what type of clarity am I really trying to draw? What is it that I really want to understand? Because at the root of it, I'm like, for me, I know what I want to give to my son. I know what I want to pour into him. I just want to be a part of his life. We've talked about that, numerous times. And then I'm like, what was it that I wanted from my dad? And then that's when it really started coming to light. Emotion wise, it's like, I just wanted someone there, just like most people do, just to give a shit, And that's what really I was like, I just really wanted someone there just to really pour into me, like how I want to pour into my son. Spend time with them, just do things with them, and thinking about that, that was something that was big, always missing, growing up. And I even, I even mentioned in the car, like, I found myself even reflecting at times, back to those early days when I was, young, trying to, even, seek that out in other places, but via other male figures, whether it be a coach, whether it be, I even mentioned, the homie's dad at one point, who was a really good friend of mine. And, I was always at their house, but, his dad, was very involved in his life, but, he acted like, and then of course, unfortunately, he acted like he didn't give a shit, AKA the son didn't, but, so it's like he almost took it for granted, but that was something that I was yearning for. And I'm like, trying to, seek that attention elsewhere. Because I did I did for sure go a 20-year gap without ever seeing or talking to my father.
20 years is a long time not to talk to somebody who basically helped produce you.
And when I say talk, like I said, he'd call every now and then on the birthday, wish happy birthday, but we really have never ever had a conversation station. Like every time he calls now and talk to him, like, it's very generic, it's not
stale, like a stale chick.
Exactly. It's just like he's really trying, but like you just don't know what to talk about because like, you don't know who I am.
There's no commonality.
There's no exactly. So that's the thing is, so I started, when we were talking, when we were at Costco, I started feeling, that feeling I used to feel when I was a child, like I was missing something. That there's something that I was yearning for that I didn't get, which is that time and attention. And like I said, my mom, she tried to do her best. She's a single mom, but like that's why she always had us in sports, martial arts, all these other different extracurricular activities to keep our minds occupied. Yeah. And then, you turn around and what we really need is that emotional side still need to be tapped into.
And full context, people. We've talked about this on other episodes. Men don't often have a place to go and talk, and I'd say use the word emotional, but just be emotionally safe where nobody's gonna be like, oh man, you crying like a bitch, suck it up. Yeah. Here's the thing: every human being, hell, the dogs go through emotions. has their, things that they need to be fulfilled, things they need to manage. And so when he's telling me this, I had some homies growing up and they were like, man, Trev, when I grow up, I'm gonna go find my dad. I'm gonna whip his ass. I'm like, my man, for what? Man, that nigga ain't never was there. You like, he sure wasn't. So what's whooping his ass gonna do? Nothing in the grand scheme of things. And then some of the guys, I literally know one of the guys still to this day, and he grew up and became a father. And, the only thing that absence really taught him was how to be present.
Yeah.
And even more importantly, I think he loves family and some other stuff, things that he always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And absentee, they say one of the 48 laws of power creates a greater following anyway. But, I told him, Jemarcus specifically, and this is for anybody, if you're walking into a situation in a state of pain and they're holding a loaded gun, two things are going to happen. Because you don't know where to take the conversation or what the intent behind it was. And as he said, he couldn't get me to a place. Jemarcus couldn't make it clear. Like, what do you need clear-wise? He wasn't there. What's more clear? I've always said there's nothing louder than an action. So you walk in and to check a man's going to be a man. And at the end of the day, he got nothing to prove. I'm guessing your dad's in his 50s at least.
Oh, he's definitely in his 60s now. Yeah.
Okay, a 60-year-old black man ain't going to change, even if he's getting to the place where, damn, I might want this guy here, as I get closer to my deathbed. He's not going to change. He might improve if something drastic happens, but objectively, for 20 years, beyond a reasonable doubt, he wasn't involved in the way you've been in or want to be involved in your son's life, correct?
Correct.
So then what would be your reasoning for wanting this clarity where the actions are clear?
Just to kind of, I guess, hear it from him, specifically.
So you want that final piece of pain, you want like that final blow to come from him.
I just need to know. I just need to know, man. And then like I said, I mean, it's one thing, like I said, him and I were on the phone, about like a month or so ago. He was talking about how he was like, yo, I'm really proud of you of how involved you are in Camden's life and all this and that. And he's like, that's one of my biggest regrets, and I'm like, yo, but is it though? Like you've had 37 years now, basically, which is an opportunity at least once a year to even come around.
Yeah.
And didn't, to really try to, call and have a real conversation. Like, yo, what's going on with hockey? Trying to he never came to any of my games, like none of that stuff.
And what do you think that's done to you, man, over the years? Like what's really happened?
It's so funny too, man, because, we really, us as men, we definitely, really try to bottle up these emotions. And I remember even my mom asking me growing up, like, does this bother you that he's not around? And I was just like, no, I'll be fine. And, but over the years, you really start seeing, the things that weren't installed per se come to light that could have helped me, become a better person. And even we talked about it, at the root of it, men being a part of their child's life, that child does have a chance to become a better person because at the root of it, they do give a shit for the most part if they're trying to be involved.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so for me, I was always just trying to put that mask on like, oh no, I'll be fine. But that's what I was missing, man. I was missing someone who really, wanted to see me try to do better. And that's what always bothered me.
And you talking about the male version because clearly, like you said, mom tried to set you up for success. Yeah. I think it goes back to men needing to be around men as well. And it's kind of like the friend things. The bros group, the girls go do girls things at time. Guys go do guys things. And when you do see your dad, you get a perspective on, again, how to grow up and even be a person at times. But, because you're like, yo, I don't want to grow up and be my mama.
No,
no,
exactly.
I don't either. Like I never like, oh yeah, I'm gonna grow up and be my mom. No, that's never gonna happen. Yeah, I have no interest in that.
And funny statement. That's what we were actually talking about at Costco too. Because I was like, getting into my 30s. I remember being a kid. You think you hit your 30s, like, oh man, you old now. It's about to go all downhill. But then Trev made a statement. He's like, yo, I saw my dad at 40 get this ball off the rim. And then he's like, I already knew I was going to be all right. And then that took me back to a moment that I spent with my dad early on when I was about 8, 9 years old. We were in Germany at the time, and we went to this local gym, and he jumped into a pickup game. And I remember seeing him sprint down the court, running after this ball, like getting busy on the court. And I was like, damn, man, like at the moment it didn't register, but then I look back, especially even after you said that about your father, I was like, dang, well, my dad was actually in his early 30s about that time frame. And I'm like, and so like, that's why I was like, yo, I mean, here I am 37 now. He turned 37 tomorrow, actually. And I still feel like I could do quite a bit.
Here you go.
quite a bit.
You didn't know that 30 was a warm up.
Exactly. That's the part right there, man. So like not having to even be able to see that, that early on.
The future and everything.
Exactly.
Like, hey, what do I potentially look like in the future? What does my growth strategy look like? Am I going to be okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what you don't know. So
yeah. And it's, man, and that right there was like very mind blowing to me too, especially when you put it like that.
Yeah. And then keep in mind, this nigga told me that his dad played against Jordan.
Yeah. He played him against him in college.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Because, my dad's from North Carolina.
Oh.
Yep.
That's
So
crazy,
yeah.
man.
Mm-hmm.
So all them little things be the one thing that keep a young man inspired as he's trying to figure out where he wants to land, who he wants to be, and how he wants to grow in life. So as you'll say, if you had to give somebody advice, what would be something that you potentially going to install before you maybe run into a room and don't know everybody's holding a shotgun and you came empty-handed? Because that's kind of what it was like when you go into a space and you are not emotionally sound. It's like the person yelling and you're like, yo, my man, are you okay? Like, what are you yelling for?
Yeah.
Having emotional control and the ability to not react is what is real strength, to say the least. So what would be some advice you'd give somebody potentially before, they go do something that they're not really prepared to do just yet?
Man, you definitely need to go experience some more life. I think that's one thing that I know you've told me is like, I need to get out and see and do more. Yeah, I've seen and traveled a little bit, throughout my life due to my mom being in the military. But then I remember you highlighted, I've always thought I was an extrovert, but really I'm actually an introvert, and that's just, keep myself closed off. So really get yourself out there to experience new things, because it's so funny. It all comes back to even the dog stuff, When you get a puppy, man, that puppy needs to see people, places, things at least 3 times a week growing up in that first year. And if it doesn't, then what happens? It starts getting very skittish. It starts getting very, reactive, defensive,
becomes
reclusive, all those little things. So then if you're trying to go into a room, like you said, with people who have all got shotguns, you're going to be a very reactive person in that environment.
Well, you're going to get shot too.
And that part too. So like, you're not going to know how to respond. I mean, all those different things. So I think it's.
So let's reenact. You go in and you like, what's the first question you'd ask your dad in all seriousness with trying to find clarity?
First of all, I'm like, I think the first question I would ask is, what was going through your mind through all those years for you not to really want to come around? What was holding you back or preventing you from you not wanting to at least just even come out and watch me play one hockey game? Like, what was really holding you back?
So it's for you, it's very personal in terms of your line of questioning then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there we go. Trev's good at this stuff, man. Y'all.
Okay.
He'll ask one question and then he'll draw a lot more perspective.
Well, it's 2 ways to go about it, because if you want to personally feel bad, you've already felt bad for 37 years, right? So you go, let me see, here's the thing. Jemarcus said, I want to understand him. Is that really a question of understanding? Or is that setting him up to basically go back into his shell? So if he's uncomfortable in talking directly at you about said problem, what would be a better way to get him to open up about his lack of fatherness?
That's a good question. And I would say, and it's so funny too, because even now, recently in the past few years, last time I saw him was almost 5 years ago now.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, 5 years ago now is when I last saw him. But, we've been talking a little more consistently since then. But he's also been extending out, invites to go on vacation, with my sister and her husband and all that kind of stuff, and wants me to bring, my son and all that. And honestly, even the last interaction we had was very awkward. It was just very awkward. So, I don't even know if even putting myself in that type of environment, aka like a vacation, would even, do anything.
It might.
And, so I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
So you don't know how to get his mind going?
No, outside of talk, because all he wants to talk about is sports. He watches all sports, football, basketball, golf, everything. He watches everything, and that's his wheelhouse.
So people, what I would tell you is a lot of times, depending on where someone's at, also emotionally, especially if they are considered the villain, you go in there and you attack the villain. They turn into their monster, and their monster could become defensive or shut down completely. So, one of the questions I would ask first is, hey, what do you think the hardest part about being a father is? And then he gets to talk about, because you've got other siblings, right?
Yes.
How many?
I have my sister on his side that he has.
Okay. So it's just two of you guys from him.
Yes.
Okay. So from dad, I've got a sister. And what walk me through, what's the hard part? And that lets him know that, he's looking for leadership. He wants me to tell him how to be a better dad. Boom, boom, boom. And then he might get into the mistakes he made and walk down a rabbit hole, especially if he's got that yapper who want to talk something serious.
Yeah.
But if you go in with, hey, why weren't you there? You go, oh, fuck, here we go with this shit.
Yeah.
But asking him in a way that provides guidance where he could potentially think he's leading, he can't be that it's hard for me. Like, I'm very good at asking questions. And get to the bottom of things without, I'm like, this person. And mind you, I'd be sitting back and watching, he's defensive. It's okay, perfect. You gotta frame it like this because he won't know that he's telling on himself.
Yeah.
That's what it come down to. Boy, that nigga that told me all his stuff. Gotcha. Now you get to take that information and potentially go apply it and leverage it and just do better because of it. But does that make more sense though?
No, that makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, because again, one question, depending on how it's asked and who it comes from, it could definitely shut a person down or get them to really get engaged, right? Mm-hmm. And it's again framing all that stuff.
Yeah,
and then he might tell you areas in which he made mistakes, all this other stuff. Times he wish he was, and you go, okay, perfect. Then that'll open up a door to continue to allow him to sell him your idea or make it his idea while he's telling you about how to become the best you can be, even though objectively you'd want to be nothing like him.
Yeah,
man, food for thought, right?
Very much so.
Yeah,
and it's so crazy as how you hear this consistently in most of these like these single father. Or not, single father, but these households without a father, how it impacts the next generation in one of two ways. One way you either end up the same way or the other way you're actually trying to be like, I remember telling myself this as a kid, like, I'm like, no matter what, I'm always going to try to be there for my son, no matter what the circumstances. Yeah. And that's something that, I firmly try to live by, every single day, whether I'm trying to work with them on the schoolwork, obviously getting on the game with them, going back and visiting them, every month and, trying to get him down here for the summer, all those different things. But like I said, my dad didn't even do any of that, And then I think I told you even one time that I tried to go spend time with him, when I was a kid. And this is back when I was like still like 9 years old, 10 years old, and I'm trying to spend 5 days with him. I got homesick within the first like 48 hours.
Homesick, mother sick, or you just didn't want to be around him no more?
It just, like I said,
combination of everything.
Yeah. And because once again, we were talking about comfort, right? And it was just very uncomfortable trying to be around because I didn't know who he was.
And the irony is my dad, he purposely made me uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you going to go over here. You're like, man, I don't want to go over here and hang out with these people. It's like, you ain't got no choice. And that in itself is how I can walk in a place and even kind of like farewell. Yeah. Farewell in this, set environment. But in anywho, people, listen, we'll tap a little bit more into this particular topic. I wanted to just touch base with it. Look, most men don't have a place of safety, let alone people they can call on and talk to. Yeah. And mind you, Jemarcus, I'm not guessing he has a lot of friends. He spends a great portion of his days here with me and at Jamal's house doing work, taking care of the dogs, building this business and learning how to be a better person. So, bringing up a topic to someone who has a lot more wisdom, I'm going to say a whole lot more. It's like, do you think that's the best way? And I never told him he was wrong. I just said, be mindful. Yeah. I never said, hey, I said, look, do what you feels best. But if you walk in there and you're unarmed, and you're asking somebody who's got a loaded gun some questions, he gets to shoot, bro. Yeah. So you potentially could get more hurt. And what'll happen is, depending on how that experience goes, it sends you into a darker place, or it frees you. It frees you from whatever's going on, but it all depends on about the place you're in when you go and present this problem. Like, hey, my man, you've been a problem in my life because you weren't there. I'm not happy with the way completely my life's went. I'm 37 years old, and all I'm thinking about now was, I want to do more for my son. How could you not think the same? And you just keep going down this thing, and then when you hear all those truths that he tells, and there's nothing that you want to hear, nothing that you like, because at the end of it, as I said, look, what's this really going to do for you? Because the facts are, he was never there. What's going to really change? Because now, if you're uncomfortable, even in his presence, still, nothing's going to change. Still, yeah. And if he doesn't want to be present, which he hasn't been, literally, it just goes back to nothing from nothing leaves nothing. If we have nothing today, there's nothing to lose. but you could lose a little bit more of yourself when giving a part of the truth that is unsettling. And it's never, I will say this, it doesn't feel good for the people you love, especially the ones that were absent, to tell you at times their truths.
Yeah.
Because it just sends you down another rabbit hole. And Jemarcus, naturally, as he'll tell you, is already an overthinker.
Yeah.
So overthinking isn't always good, where it might tighten up even more you and your son's relationship, but it also might not add value. And that's the question is, it's like I told him when I went to go talk to my dad and clear the air and finalize that last chapter, I didn't have anything. I wasn't mad. I wasn't upset. I just was like, let me go see what this guy's going to look like over the next 20. And in those, the way, he framed things and I was asking questions, I said, oh, he's still going to be causing problems in people's lives. I don't want to participate in that because he was still leveraging me at times and wanting me to meet people and women and whoever else. Because, mind you, I'm this T-Fit dude back in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward social media, somebody I don't talk to him. I haven't talked to my dad in probably 10 plus years, and that is by choice for damn sure. But now it'd be like, yo, that's my son. You go, it's like, no, and no. I mean, not meeting my dogs is not happening.
Yeah.
And I'll tell y'all how my dad used to run his system on another episode of all the poor choices. But, daddy issues are a thing. Unfortunately, men break us and men make us oftentimes. And I can, I'm always glad when there is a mother who played all the roles she could to give you the best, give a man the best options possible. But I know for a fact men need men.
Yeah,
they do.
They do.
They do. It is one of those things where I don't care if it's a white, black, Mexican, or brown. Most men are inspired by other men. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
And it's you could be encouraged by women. You're inspired. I'm inspired by women, but like when it comes to like that dad and father thing, that's a whole thing, bro.
Yeah.
They write it in the scripts. Hell, they write it into goddamn what's that shit y'all be watching with the cartoon fighting stuff? The anime stuff.
Yeah.
It's in anime storylines where, dude got super strong because his dad wasn't there.
Yep.
That's how Goku's kids got so strong. That nigga was always somewhere fighting else. They're like, look, I got to get strong like dad. Maybe then he'll hang out more.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. That's facts, man.
It's a fucking thing. And
it is, man.
Many other Naruto story is like the absence of these men, puts you in a state of conflict, potentially for the rest of your life if you never deal with it. So what are some things you're going to do then, Jemarcus, to kind of manage that conflict that you're still going through and dealing with as you try to mend and manage you and your father's relationship through the future?
Definitely continue to keep having conversations like this because I'm even glad I brought up the topic today to him. Because, we were just at Costco, and then, I had mentioned, like I said, in passing, just like, hey, that's what I plan on doing at some point this year. And then even that, and then him drawing this gigantic perspective now, because it forces you to look at things completely different now. Definitely have some more conversations like this, man, to continue to, learn more about myself, become more one myself, so I can be able to handle myself in that moment when I think it is time, or if I even decide to even ever have that conversation.
And what part of you would you say is still hurting to this day because of your father's lack of absence?
I think the emotional side, man.
And mind you, I had emotions when I was a kid a lot more. And I'm not saying I don't now, but even, shout out to Maul, he's in the room right here. When he said, hey, I'd love to get Micah on a workout plan, or hey, Micah's having this, can you we going to split the difference there, and even building some Legos with him. Is look at my role in most children's life is to be one of the people who impacts them from a structural standpoint. So I'm not rude or mean. He says, hey, he knock on the door, can we play the game? Yeah, jump on the game, let's go.
Yeah.
But I like structure, and I know what it does because ironically, after the 5 to 7 years my dad did in prison, he provided a lot of structure, discipline, and forced me to be smart.
Yeah.
In communication, etc. So what part of your emotion, and to be clear, mine, which affected me and still to this day does, is abandonment. So I always felt abandoned. So there's probably, I hug my dad when we go see him in jail, but that never felt real.
Yeah.
The realest moment I ever hugged him was he had to go back. And I remember being with his old lady at the time, and we were sitting there holding each other and we're crying because he's got to go back to jail. And I remember asking her because I didn't want to go live with my grandma. I said, "Hey, can I stay here while he's going?" And she says, "No, he can't." And this is a woman where she had 2 kids, and when I'd come back from my grandmother's at the evening, I'd have to be on my hands and knees using a rag to clean her floors. I'd have to do her dishes while the kids were playing in the driveway basketball. The neighborhood would be. I'd be on her roof, cleaning the gutters. So I remember all the things that you should never experience as a kid, and having nowhere to go to even discuss this stuff. I remember feeling sick the majority of my childhood with abandonment.
Yeah.
And so that there is like I won't say a trigger for me, but what do I do fast? I leave everywhere. I come in, I'm gone, bro. It's like, hey, where's he? What happened? What happened? Oh boy, I think he died. I told them even to say that, but that abandonment, and I don't know if you know if it's emotion, but it's definitely a word. It's like, yo, I got to get out of here before somebody leaves me, but I'm going to give them the best of me no matter what. So that emotion, you say, what is the emotion that was most impactful and that I missed, or for me, that just unsettling to me? You want to unsettle me? That abandonment, leaving me, Lord, that's a bad move there.
Yeah, no, and I can 100% relate to that. And I think we even talk, what do we call it? Because I was even referencing it to my son, how like my son will just follow me around all over.
Anxious attachment.
Yeah. I think that's something that with the combination of the abandonment thing, because like I said, I used to do the same thing. I remember anytime my dad used to be around when I was very, very young, my mom was like, yo, you were always worried that he was going to leave. And then he did. He did.
Dip said nigga.
I mean, dip though, but then, I see the same kind of mannerisms as my son at times where he thinks, and which is why I always try to, I'm always on, FaceTime, or I'm talking to him or texting. Like I said, we're on the game. We're always communicating in some form because I'm like, yo, I'm always here no matter what, even if I'm not there physically. And then I just make sure even when I am there physically, we make the best of that time.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that's, that abandonment with that anxious attachment, man. Just not feeling that presence, of someone there who genuinely wanted to, like, because even my mom, like I said, she was working, she was military, so she's working 6, 7, 8 a.m. till 6, 7, 8 p.m. And, mind you, and then I'm at sports, so like I even rarely got to see her. So like we were still kind of on cruise control growing up, and then it was me and my little brother too. So we were, around each other all the time, and then, so she was never really there, but she was there. She was just making sure that, she was providing for us, and then we had a roof, over our head and all that. And then, making sure we're in sports and things like that so she can pay for all those things. But I mean, she was working all the time. Obviously the dad wasn't there. So there was nobody really there in terms of feeling that presence of
so it sounds like, I mean, even what you're talking about, and I did the same thing growing up as well. I tell people I was a Gotro, I was a Anderson, I was a Clark. I was any family who was a family that allowed me to come in and feel like I was, a child even at times, or I'd have to. I remember, Brandon Anderson's mom. She would cook big meals. She was Italian, and you'd be invited. It'd be such a good time.
Yeah,
at all these families, because I didn't have that growing up at all.
Yeah,
it was never a family. There was no father, no mother. They definitely weren't together. But I never felt at peace. I was a Gotro. I wanted to support. I needed that growing up, and then eventually you get sick. It's like a sickness that comes over you.
Yeah.
And now you don't know what to do. And I had to deal with a lot early on, way earlier than the average person, because, the shit just kept getting flipped and flipped and flipped. But I can identify, abandonment. I can identify getting nervous at one point in time around people. Then I can identify that, look, I'm the person who can impact everything now. So I can deal with these things a lot better even when people leave. And then when you become of real value, it's very difficult for people to leave. They go, listen, what do you do? You don't want to leave. That's the motherfucker you want to be around for life, per se, because you're going to keep growing.
Yeah.
So I don't, really know what to tell you guys advice-wise. What I would tell you is definitely find a mentor, or in some cases, we did an episode about collaboration, and I'm learning the friend thing more as I begin to trust more people, and more so their intent. And meaning that intent not to harm me or go out of their way to harm me. When you look up foundationally, the definition of care is basically not to make someone's life worse than it already is.
Yeah.
Like that's the gist of it. So when people say they care, you go, if you care, why didn't you do more? You know, or why did you do the opposite? You know, and that's why, you know, if you have said on other things, I don't believe in love, because somebody will tell you they love you and kill you. You know, love you and lie to you, love you and fuck you over, love you and steal from you. Go. But if they told you they hated you and did those things, that would make sense. You say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that motherfucker hates my guts, nigga.
Yeah.
Knocked all my windows out, cut my tires, fuck my girl and such, you know. Like, that nigga hates me, but somebody tell you they love you and do all they can to keep you from being who you supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's confusing. So I've never understood. I'm like, yo, this is some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
It literally makes no fucking sense. And I'm not good at playing those type of games.
Man, no, he definitely is not.
So but the emotional side of it, you know, what are some things you can do to kind of like grow that space where, you know, you per se are no longer dealing with the feeling of abandonment because, you know, you've like, oh, he's been gone.
Definitely need to continue to keep deep diving this a little bit more, like I said, because, you know, talking to you today about it, it definitely opened up some things that I didn't realize I thought I was in control of, but I realized I was not in control of.
I'm going to tell you how far left I went, people. I said, Jemarcus, you go in there and be like, yo, so why you left my mom? I fucking fucked her one time. I didn't like her. Didn't want no fucking kids. She was supposed to be a one-night stand and went fucking south. Clearly, you're here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck this. I don't want to be a dad. He goes, well, I said, now mind you, I don't think he's going to say that.
Yeah, no, and
But
I don't think he's
not
either.
that kind of. But imagine you walk into a room and you really back a dog into a corner.
Yeah.
Your motherfucking dog gonna say, you know what? Let me make sure this motherfucker understands. I'm choosing to talk to you. Like if it's a rotten person, he's like, look, I'm choosing to talk to you today because I went and I'm trying to work on myself, but I didn't fucking like you. I want nothing to do with you. That would, and mind you, he walk in there, don't know that's about to happen. That's a loaded gun.
That's a shotgun.
And in his mind, he got more control in his mind than he think. And then when it comes from him, it's coming from me. It don't sound real. If his dad said those things, it would fuck him up in that moment. Now the whole thing then changed. Now he's thinking about, I got to defend my mom now because she was the best thing. And he don't even know all the truth in the story between her and him, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like now I got to go really investigate that side of it too, because even when I was talking to you about that also offline, I mean, you know, I've asked her about it, you know, throughout the years, and you know, when I reflect on what she has said, you know, some of it sounds like it was just trying to put me at ease, versus what was, you know, what the real situation was. So it's like, now I got to really go draw some clarity from her too, and I just really have a conversation, like not to, you know, berate her or belittle her or anything, but I just like I need to know what was really going on.
But it all brings it back to perspective, right?
Yeah, man, because even my thing, I was like, yo, my biggest thing, I was like, I got to be as honest as possible with my son. He has to know, he has to be aware of what's going on. Because if he's not, then, you know, then these potential things that I'm potentially feeling can definitely seep into him. And it can get very confusing.
It can, people. And so, again, I would encourage you to never emotionally respond or react to something. And if you are in an emotional state where you think you need emotional clarity, make sure you're emotionally sound. Because if you're not looking for clarity and you live in a heightened state of rage, anger, and you lack serenity, aka peace, this person will disturb your peace. And see, here's the thing about mental illness, mental sickness, or mental health. It's not the conversation he's going to have with him that's going to fucking stay up. It's every conversation he'll have in his own mind for the next 3 to 4 weeks or years about that one moment that he wasn't prepared for.
Yep.
Until he actually, you know, potentially has to go to a therapist or he works through it. So you'd be surprised, and I don't think some of you are, especially if you listen to this, how impactful one person can be in life, both good and bad.
Yep.
And if it is someone like a father who was supposed to be there day and night forevermore and all that other stuff, and he just wasn't. And you come from the black community, I got to just speak the truth here. My dad wasn't there, and I grew up around an environment of kids where their dads weren't either. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
None of us had them jokers really involved. And you know, the way in which my dad knew to be involved, I ain't going to tell you it was the best way, but it definitely got a result that's needed for today. Do I wish things could have been different? Of course, especially the level of violence. What I will tell you is it took a lot of fucking work, and I'm still doing it daily, to be able to manage my emotions and not react emotionally, or not to be enraged every time, or not to think everybody's out to get me, and so many other things that go through your head in every little situation you're in.
Yeah. And you know what's also crazy, as you were talking about that statement about, like, you know, if you were to go into there, you know, unprepared, and he were to say, yo, you know, I fucked your mom, and this is just some random one night thing, like, I would actually expect that more on the Native American side of my family because all my cousins, for the most part, they're all fatherless.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and we have a very large family, a very large family. Like I can count on both my hands right now, just 10 cousins off top. And it goes way beyond that,
So
that are
10
close.
relatives that he can reach out to, call, contact, communicate with, and nobody's daddy's around.
None of them. And then unfortunately, the best out of all of them was one of my uncle. He unfortunately died of cancer around his early 30s, and he had about 3 kids. And like he was probably the best example outside of my grandfather on my mom's side. He was probably the best example of probably a father that I really got to see. Until unfortunately he passed away. His name was it's my Uncle Junior. Yeah, he was my Uncle Junior, man. And he, I really think, but he was a great person foundationally, and trust me, his wife, she did everything that she could to make sure that their kids they're all great kids. They're all doing really good things now.
Good.
But that was probably the best example I probably had really growing up until he unfortunately passed.
And people, I don't know even what the technical messages in this. What I will tell you is that we all got problems. We've all got issues. I don't technically know where you should go or can go and talk about it. Various people around me will bring up stuff, and I'll provide some advice, or perspective. I like to call it. I just provide some perspective. Is there anything that you want to leave them with, man? Because this ain't something I feel, it's definitely going to be revisited. But him and I have various connective tissue in terms of our feelings. I think Jemarcus, he has to be a father. So he really has to manage his emotions more than I ever will.
Yeah.
And I have to be a leader. And that requires me managing my emotion, my responses, how I guide, do everything, right? And the message, too. What is the message and what I'm delivering, especially if it's good, bad, or ugly?
Yeah. I would say if you're definitely thinking about, if you're going through a similar situation as far as, mother or father in this case, was not there ever, and you want to go try to have that conversation, because I know even one of my cousins, that's crazy now, that's because it's all coming back to the forefront. One of my cousins, she went to go find her father, and she went to go have a conversation, and exactly what you said fucking happened. My cousin, I'm not gonna say her name, but man, I remember hearing about that, and I'm like, damn. I was like, I don't think my dad has that fucking type of dog in him to really.
What was the premise of what did he say to her?
Everything that you basically said in terms of like, it was basically just a good time. I didn't intend on having a child with her, and then she met him at a club.
That's it. So
that was it.
It's Hump City, as far as I'm concerned.
Hump City, man. And then, and he has a whole nother family, married, kids, everything, 15 states over, like on the other side of the country, basically.
And she had to go talk to him.
To him.
How fucked up was she?
Oh, man, trust me. They definitely don't talk anymore, to be clear. And, she, I think she's still wearing a mask, to be clear. Like, she didn't really try to speak too much on it, but you can tell it fucked with her, man.
Of course, bro. I'm telling you,
and then on top of that, here's the other part. This, and there's just a whole bunch, I'm not going to even get into this, a whole another conversation. But yeah, no, she's definitely still wearing a mask, unfortunately. I know it definitely fucked with her emotionally. I would say, in this case, my advice would be definitely seek someone else's perspective, that, a mentor, someone who's potentially close to you, best friend, whatever. Just try to get their perspective about, going into this type of situation, or even going to see a therapist if you have that ability to do so, before you really walk into that situation. Because like I said, I thought I had it figured out, but then right when Trev asked me one question, it flipped the whole entire script.
Yeah, you just go, do you think you're really ready for that? Do you know what happens to people after they go and get the truth?
Mm-hmm.
The truth don't always set a motherfucker free. It traps you.
Yeah.
It'll trap you depending on who's telling it, man. So what we do know is words are very powerful. People are very powerful. People you give power to are very powerful. The people who don't know that they have power are very powerful. And if they're not considered of Jemarcus's emotional state or welfare, they will cause more harm or do more harm than good, because at the end of the day, your dad don't know you. No. So you go in there and he has no interest. Even if I have to deliver something that's catastrophic to a person, there is a way to do it that inspires them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And then sometimes you just got to fucking drop the 2-ton weight and just crush them.
Yeah.
It's not always they're like, oh, look, I'm about to bury this motherfucker.
Yeah.
With words, to be clear. So you got an issue, you got daddy issues, you got emotional issues, you got personal issues. Listen, good luck dealing with them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that was planned. That's the beauty about the podcast, and even just the life itself.
Yeah.
It wasn't planned to have this conversation, but I'm very much aware and into making sure that I'm in control of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Jemarcus still has a lot of energies he needs to work through in managing himself. So I'm like, yo, I don't know if that's a good idea, buddy.
Yeah.
I do not know if that's a good idea because you're not going to get the answers you want, believe me, because he don't know how to say them in the first place.
Yeah. But I will say the best therapy that I've been enjoying in terms of learning more about taking care of myself personally is working with these dogs, man.
Yeah.
These dogs teach you a different level of care. And Nala was a game changer for me when I got her as a pup, and going through that whole year and process with her of developing her. And then, she just now turned 2, and it's been a journey, but it's been a great journey. And then Junior, even yesterday when I was like, man, I was putting this thing together for Junior, this compilation of all the stuff that I've done with him in this past year. I didn't realize how much I've done with them, but it's just like, yo, it's some great therapy, man, because it forces you to really start looking at how you need to take care of yourself as well, too.
Yeah. Guys, well, listen, as always, we appreciate this UnMotivated podcast. I do hope that some of this truth helps you guys. Being authentic is the only thing I can ever lean into, and definitely sharing moments that are true, because it's all we have for a few true moments and a few lies we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
I appreciate Jemarcus for, sitting down and sharing some of his story as well and being able to enlighten you on the things he might be dealing with. And here's the truth. You never know what you're dealing with until you're in this shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a thing. We're in the thick of it. I don't even know if that's a song.
Yeah.
But in anywho, people, look, and keep taking care of your mind, take care of your body, and stay motivated.
Boom.